everybody. Welcome back to the Late Show with your host, Young Brando, live from Los Angeles. We are powered by Steel Buffalo Motors, where we will have our first live show on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. That is 4 p.m. in New York. I would love to see each and every one of you. I really look forward to that. I've made some preparations. I hope we can talk about it as the program goes on. I want to start actually by talking a little bit about a watch that I brought up while we were discussing the Only Watch offerings, the entire 63 lots. And one of the pieces that I tried to shine a particular focus on was the Peter Beda Offre Paris piece, which was a time only watch in what has become basically a tradition now. This was only presented at the time as a sketch. This watch was only presented at the time as a sketch, but the pictures and further details have not been long in coming. But already at the time, what drew my attention was the fact that they were going to use the observatory grade version of the famous Zenit 135 caliber. Of course, this movement has its own rich history as having been particularly designed to compete for highest honors in observatory trials for chronometric precision. It was also important because just last year, Zenit itself, in order to perhaps step out of their um, self established and self fulfilling reputation of being an El Primero only and even chronograph only brand, Zenit had reached out to, on the one hand, Philips auctions, Philips watches, on the other hand, to Kari Voutilainen to actually produce a limited series that used 10 movements, uh, which were, in fact, to this date, never encased in a timepiece, but were exclusively produced as 135O. And they created this limited series of watches that were really strikingly beautiful, but of course, extremely limited, and you might also say prohibitively expensive. And I thought it was really interesting, not necessarily from a level of democratization or anything, but it was really interesting that three young watchmakers would come together so soon to somehow rival and, in fact, perhaps outdo uh, the achievement, or rather the collaboration that was achieved in this particular uh, piece between Zenit, Philips Auctions, and the famous independent watchmaker Kari Voutilainen. So Gael Peterman and what was Beda's name? Sorry, guys. So Gael Peterman and Florian Beda are so far more famous for the two pieces they have released since their launching of the brand in 2020. The first one is 1967, which is a Deadbeat seconds watch with a partially open work dial. And more recently, they came out with their reference 2941, which is a single button split seconds chronograph with a similarly open worked dial. So it was quite refreshing to see them, first of all, kind of reel things back and apply a certain kind of horological, if also aesthetic, restraint in producing a time only watch, and doing that in collaboration with Theo Offray from Paris. Theo Offray is someone who was recognized quite prodigiously, so to speak. He was awarded, I believe, in 2018, a Young Talent Prize by the IFBE Jaune competition. And he has so far realized two series of tourbillons, and I believe he has made a total of perhaps 10 watches in these two series. So extremely limited production of tourbillons, tourbillon à Paris, as you can see here, and then tourbillon Grand Sport, which was a more sporty take on that traditional regulatory mechanism. So they basically joined forces to produce this time-only watch, which I hope begins or announces the beginning of a more extensive collaboration, because I think both would benefit quite a bit from a watch that is time only, that is a little more simplistic, at least at first blush, but does not make any compromises in terms of both high horological standards, which include, of course, here chronometric precision worthy of an observatory certification, actually from the Besançon Observatory in France. And of course, a finish that is quite mind-blowing, especially because you are basically setting it side by side with the much more austere take that Kari Voutilainen had on the 135.0 just about a year ago. This is a watch that lives up to that classical conservative aesthetic established by that full frontal look. It's also proportioned in a very restrained and classy fashion, 38.3 millimeters in diameter and less than 11 millimeters in height, 10.8 millimeter in thickness. And we are also looking at a stainless steel case, which has individually soldered and seductively shaped lugs. The case is fully polished, and the watch has a dial fashioned out of solid silver, thermally treated to achieve this um, silvered opaline white color. As you can see at a closer inspection, there's much more texture and a more silvered look. Perhaps from a certain distance, it's more of an opaline white. All the dial fixtures, including the hands, are made by hand, very beautifully and finely faceted and beveled in terms of the applied stick markers. Heat blued hand for the seconds. The rest of the dial fixtures are in pink gold. And sector style subsidiary dial for the seconds, which is actually marked by the inscription chronomètre d'observatoire, observatory grade chronometer. The dial otherwise carries the black lacquered inscription of the two brands, Offray for Theo Offray Paris and Petermann Beda for the two young watchmakers who have apparently met when they were merely 15 years old in watchmaking school. Um, both had stints at A. Lange und Söhne and also worked together as watchmakers for the famous Christie's auction house as well. The dial, furthermore, carries another one of the Petermann Beda signatures, even though it's not in any way subjected to open working or skeletonization. I'm talking about the two exposed screws aligned perfectly, one being between 1 and 2 o'clock, and the other between 7 and 8 o'clock. They have used a single uh, bridge. I believe they have kept the gear train as well as the balance wheel from the original movement, original Zenit 135 movement. Used a single bridge plate rather than two separate ones, which I think, at least in my interpretation, is a good tip of the hat for their common experience at Lange, quite reminiscent of a three-quarter plate, but of course much more richly finished with deep anglage and four interior angles. The original index regulator of the movement was replaced by a swan neck regulator, handmade and finished by Peter Mambeda. There's a black polished circular hub that is held in place by the two screws to retain the cap jewel right here, which of course resonates beautifully when you think about it, about about the two exposed screws on the dial as well, which gives what is otherwise a very classically looking piece, very interesting industrial edge. There's a large balance wheel, as you can see, which beats at 18,000 semi-oscillations per hour, if I'm not mistaken, 2.5 hertz. So it must be delightful to see it in action, expanding and contracting, much like a beating heart. The jewels are set in wide and mirror polished countersinks. That cap is black polished, and so is the crown jewel. Sorry, crown wheel. Um, whereas the ratchet wheel has a very nice and deep mirror polished recess on it. The finish on the bridge plate is actually the specialty and work of Theo Offray, who attributes this technique to his own French predecessors, who, after cleaning and smoothing the surface of that plate, would, with some oil, use a piece of coal to apply this interesting and arbitrarily patterned finishing. In English, I guess we can just call this coal finishing. The French, as per usual, part of course sounds just cooler. Charbonnage is the name of the technique in French, referring to that piece of coal that is used in applying this lovely finishing that you can see on the bridge plate. Of course, the base plate has very nice perlage. Overall, of course, we're looking at a pièce unique, as is the tradition of the Omni watch, a one-of-a-kind piece. But I hope that it either signals a more extensive collaboration between these three young people, or that it somehow perhaps offers them a way of expanding their collections with the addition of perhaps more restrained simplified and classically beautiful watches. Once again, not that I'm complaining about the tourbillons that Théoffret has been making on his part, nor the more complicated pieces that Pete Mambeda so far offered in the form of a deadbeat seconds watch as well as a split second chronograph. But it would be nice to see them demonstrating their chops in this more restrained fashion. Hi, Ali. How are you doing, man?
I'm not bad, man. I'm chugging some Gatorade.
Good.
And
That's my favorite as well. And they are these days they are on discount too. So I love that. Can't miss that.
you're not wrong. Like at Costco, I just picked up like I don't know. I don't think they're cases, but I picked up a ton of Gatorade recently. Oh, this is a beautiful watch.
Right? And so simple too.
Exactly. I love the simplicity of it. I love the simplicity of it. I was thinking about that when we were looking at that long.
Mm-hmm.
The why is it that field watches appeal, and why does that one appeal even a little more? And it's because it's a very clean and simple field watch. It doesn't go overboard on the texturing, on the syringe hands, on the inkiness of the numerals. It doesn't go overboard on anything. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
touch more utilitarian while being almost magazine clean.
Yeah, I agree. I talked about it on Tuesday a little more extensively. And I Love Maldives was apparently contemplating it too by pure coincidence. So he made a very generous contribution for it as well. But like you said, the everything seems so well proportioned to begin with, right? The syringe hands are not oversized, but quite um, recognizable in their form. The Arabic numerals again are filled out with nice and thick loom that is reminiscent of older materials, but is, of course, super luminova, not oversized in any way. There's no excessive texturing on the dial, even though there's this kind of silver burst effect, which, when you think about it, without, again, looking contrived, also plays well with the larger khaki tones of the strap here, for example, but also the color of the luminous material too. And the watch is very muted, of course, with a grain brushed finish, but the notched crown, again ever so slightly oversized, is a nice accent there in its glimmer. Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, that the crown to case proportions. There's just something like there's something about it. I mean, clearly the back end is completely something different entirely.
Mhm.
Um, but there's something about it that appeals more than both the traditional, Hamilton offerings and the high-end Patek offerings.
Yeah, and there is, like, I understand the appeal, right? That some people just love um you know s- the Patek touch on the kind of watch you would usually see in Zenit or IWC or even Hamilton's catalog. I understand the appeal from that perspective, but to me, again, field watches invoke that sort of simplicity and restraint, that and a kind of rugged utility, that a price tag that already reaches 5 digits and much, much more stops being appealing to me. But this
It's no
kind of
longer
strikes a
exactly.
happy medium, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah. So I didn't realize that you had covered it the other night, so I didn't mean to bring it back up. But when you were
No, no,
the,
I like it because it's like you said, it echoes with what we were just talking about.
yeah, it's something that I found that I was thinking, you know, I prefer three-handers over everything else. And then when I leave three-handers, I don't actually like. I do like a little bit of GMT, but I don't like chrono movements. I don't like
Mm.
moon phases. I mean, they're very romantic and they're beautiful, but I'm not a big fan of them. And I don't like just an annual calendar. So for me, it's a jump all the way up to a perpetual calendar. Like there's
Yeah.
not much in between for me. And I was thinking about that with, you know, the closest to my heart maker is Audemars, which is that's not going to change,
Yeah.
right? It's not a well-deserved place, like on pure technical merit, but it's the closest to my heart. But my two other favorites right now are really Romain Gauthier and Grunfeld because they have beautifully simple designs that are still extremely elegant.
By the way, we are entitled to those irrational choices. I mean, my favorite maker still overall is Rolex. That they don't necessarily make the most complicated watches. They don't necessarily make the best finished watches. They are not necessarily spearheading any sort of technical innovation, so on and so forth. You know, if you want to find problems with it, you always can. I think there's always a very sentimental, if not entirely irrational, element to our allegiance to certain watch brands.
But the thing about Rolex, and this is, you know, not for Ali to come out and defend Rolex, but something I have said and I've stood by is that they really have earned the reputation of this incredibly consistent and reliable luxury watchmaker, right? And
Mhm.
in a very real sense, they're the Lexus of the space, which is a phenomenal accomplishment in and of itself for them to produce a
Mm.
million plus watches with so few problems. Like you never hear of anybody reporting uh, the type of problems they report with Audemars Piguet, um, Vacheron or Patek. Really, you
Mhm.
know, humidity problems, clutch problems, chrono failing, you know, those type of things. They keep things very simple, very clean, very consistent. Their details that they put in for they don't obviously have a display case back, but for their dial, the details they put in at the very edges, the frosting of the crown, and some of them are anti-counterfeit measures, but they do them perfectly. So there's something very admirable about Rolex. And then JJ made one of the best cases for Rolex for me because it's very much the same thing as when you think about it from a Lexus perspective in my head, is that Rolex is how the working man demonstrates that they've made it. Like a Rolex is equally at home on Roger Federer's wrists and a guy who's been a union bricklayer for 30 years and could finally afford his first Rolex.
Yeah.
Like it fits both of them perfectly. Whereas you really can't say that about any of the other luxury brands. You really can't say that it's equally as desirable to somebody who's already there, like a Roger Federer, and to somebody who is just now getting there for the first time in their mid 50s, you know, like JJ said, a union bricklayer or something like that. No
Mm.
other brand can say that. And that includes Lexus or Mercedes. No other brand can say that.
No,
Because
that's an interesting argument. Yeah.
it's not just the mark, right? It's the specific model. Right, that's the thing is that a no date sub on Roger Federer's wrist or a Root Beer GMT on Roger Federer's wrist, and then also on a bricklayer's wrist has the same exact appeal to both of them. What else has that? Like ice cream? You know what I mean? Like what else has that whimsical feel? It would be like ice cream, a hamburger, pizza. Like no luxury good has that feel other than Rolex.
I think by saying luxury good, you are certainly making an important point because again, on the one hand, we like to temper some of the self-importance of the horological space and of a lot of these watch brands by saying, "Hey, they're not curing cancer. It's not that big of a deal." Um, On the other hand, when you look at brand recognizability, uh, arguably Rolex is up there, but even for some sorts of lists that get published in terms of the standing of luxury brands, they're almost consistently in top 10. So I guess, like, the closest thing you would get to it, again, I'm saying this, I actually hate this man and the entire Clinton crime family, but like, it's like the American president drinking Coca-Cola out of the bottle, right? Rolex is kind of universal. I don't know if it is the same kind of uh, thing necessarily, but Enzo Ferrari famously said, like, if a kid draws a sports car, he will paint it in red, right? And I don't know which Rolex model it would be. I don't know what kind of watch it would be at this point, but if you make a kid who is halfway familiar with wristwatches, with mechanical watches, if such kid still exists, um, they will draw a Rolex. I would
They'll
say
draw
they
a
would probably,
Submariner every single
yeah.
time.
I was gonna say they would probably draw a Submariner, but I'm a little biased, so I didn't want to go there right away. Um, but yeah, I think there's something to be said about that, and it's not just the sheer saturation of the market space, right? After all, they make more than twice as much um, than their nearest competitor in terms of units, right? So it's there's a little bit of an imbalance there, nevertheless.
Yeah, but I think it's not a coincidence that if you take a look at, hey, Baruch, hey, Jake Brooks, Andrew, welcome, folks. It's not a coincidence if you take a look at even like anime art, right, or comic book art, and they draw on a frame. It's always a Rolex they draw. Like, they never brand it, but it's always a Rolex they draw, period. It's not a coincidence. So whether you ask a kid or an adult, it doesn't matter. Like, it will always end up being a kid will draw a Squircle with an apple on the side.
Square, I mean, I guess a square slash
So,
circle.
yeah,
That's
Squircle.
yeah.
That's fantastic. No, I don't think so. I bet you if I ask my nephew to draw a watch, he'll draw a watch. He'll draw a sub. And he's
Yeah, I
never
mean,
seen a
look,
sub. He's seen a Breitling, he's seen a Roy Loke, but he'll draw a sub.
again, that's why I hesitated to make that comment, but I would like to think so. On the other hand, of course, Apple is pretty partisan about the whole thing, right? There's no simple wristwatch emoji. There's an Apple Watch emoji in the iPhone. There's a stopwatch emoji, etc. But there's no wristwatch emoji except for the Apple Watch. So they are seriously contaminating young minds. We have to do something about that. But Peruka might still have a point there.
But it's beautiful in its simplicity. It's beautiful, and whimsically, I'm gonna say this is the same as any woman really who doesn't over apply makeup. They're just beautiful in their simplicity. It has the same romanticism to me, frankly.
Nice. I think that's an analogy I can get behind. Pun intended.
Pun intended, yeah.
But yes, I think maybe it's that primordial. Maybe it's that simple when we try to explain the appeal of time only high horological watches, right? It is really a kind of unadorned beauty, right? It's like a woman, to expand on your analogy, Ali. It's like a woman who knows that she is beautiful, but doesn't necessarily act like it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's the same thing. I love the simplicity of things.
And we are seeing, yeah, look, Piroka, Piroka is really driving that point home.
He's
But
driving
hey,
the point home, yeah.
maybe that looks like a reverso.
Reverso.
No, I'm kidding, man. Swiss has a very strong point. That's why I hesitated so much when making that point. But at least in my romantic imagination, there must be some kid somewhere drawing a Submariner when they're asked to draw a watch, but I might be wrong. I want to
I
welcome
know. I mean, I
everyone again.
honestly, so my daughter draws.
Sorry, go ahead.
My daughter has been drawing and has. I mean, at this point, I don't think I'd be exaggerating if I said she has 100+ sketchbooks over the past 16 years.
Mm.
Her watches are all consistently a Submariner. She never saw until she was what, 12 or 13, a sub in her life.
Mm.
Right now, the Apple Watch wasn't huge when she was first born because she's almost 16. You know, too much should be 16. But whatever it was, what she was drawing was the modern tool dive watch that Rolex is anchored. That's what she was drawing. However it came to be.
Oh, did you see that little part they were doing with the piece of coal?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was actually part of the video. And look at that. I mean, I love those large balance wheels. I love large balance wheels, and I cannot lie. It's for sure.
Peruka had a Dufour on his Instagram today. He mentioned in the chat. That's what made me.
Yeah, the best watch in the world is literally called the Simplicity by Dufour. Absolutely, that's true, and for sure, he was a pioneer in using that sort of aesthetic and horological restraint, even though he put himself on the watchmaking map with his Grande Sonnerie that he made for Audemars Piguet for for the first time. So simplicity was preceded by that, but also by duality as well. So which is a double balance watch that works on a single gear train. But anyway, so it took him a while to get there, and it seems these three young watchmakers are on a similar path too, having produced, tourbillons and deadbeat seconds and split second chronographs. For their early creations, they seem to have joined hands to make something much more muted, but no less impressive.
How much do these run?
I don't know.
This is the only watch, obviously. But
so far it's going to be the only watch, and the estimate is, and that lot listing still only carries the sketch, between 50,000 to 100,000 Swiss francs. But I really do believe that there is a chance that they might, work on this, that they might actually do something either together or separately that is a time-only watch. Because at the end of the day, these auctions, whether we like it or not, are a way for them to also launch a new product. I mean, it is a charity auction, yes.
Yeah, but it's a free market test.
Yes, and they're also, sealing is not the right word, but they are more or less establishing a kind of price between a base price and ceiling for a new series they might produce, right? For example, if this piece actually sells for 6 figures, if and when they come out with their time-only watch and price it at $80,000, it will look like a bargain, right? For the buyers of this particular segment of watches. That's exactly why they use these kinds of methods to launch a new product usually. Robert Wood says she was actually your
Yeah,
daughter was
I'm
actually
ignoring him.
wearing a Casio Duro.
Yeah, I'm ignoring him. It's possible too. Either way.
And Hide is here, Robert is here, Swiss, JB, Andrew L. Thank you for being here, and I hope everyone clicked the like button. It does genuinely help. I wanted to see what you think, Ali, of the new Norcane pieces.
The one with the scar tissue?
I don't know if you guys talked yesterday on. you did you guys talk about it on JJ's Watch Hangouts?
I brought it up. I brought
yesterday?
it up. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So what do you think beyond the scar tissue comment?
So it I don't like it at that price point. I think that when there were a couple of shots in one of the articles that made it look less like tree bark, so it looked like it might be more respectable texturing. But at that price point, I don't know what Norcane's thinking lately. They keep upping their prices, like not quite Oris style, but getting there. I just don't like the aesthetics of it. Like this is it's a throwaway design. There's nothing timeless about this design.
Yeah, I think I'm given to understand it's like filled in with some sort of, I mean, it might be actually pink gold, but something with a pink gold accent at the very least. I also have the same impression about their Wild One, their like True Blood sports watch. I do feel that the design is out there. But I think, as much as I understand that they have been, kind of pushing their prices up, ever so subtly, I think that also has a lot to do with market placement as well. I think a lot of these brands, Oris and Norcane are great examples, although Norcane is a relative newcomer, of course. They are trying to price themselves out of the sub 3,500, 4,000 segment, because I think the Swiss mechanical watchmakers already admitted defeat. The smartwatch has already taken over that.
In your point, you've made that point before, and you're absolutely right. There's no doubt about it, right? But that doesn't, whether they've conceded defeat or not, does not mean that there's room to move in there without looking like a fool.
Right. But the reason oh, hi Swiss, how are you doing, man?
Hello, how are you guys?
Good, man. Nice to see you.
Nice name change there.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Swiss
I forgot to change it.
I wanted to jump to this specifically after we talked about the simplicity of high horological pieces. I mean, a lot of times when smaller brands want to price themselves upwards to reach a new segment, they use like material experimentation, for example. That's one of their excuses, right? We are using forged carbon fiber, we are using a new environmentally sensitive bioceramic whatever, Of course, that name belongs to a much lower price segment, but you get the whole shtick. Oh, this is the first time we make a titanium cased watch. This is the first time we use DLC coating on this sort of material, and they use that as an excuse. Or this is the first time we use a sapphire case.
Basically, marketing mumbo jumbo.
Yes, and they use that as an excuse to sell a watch for the first time, let's say in the 5,000 plus segment. I think that's why Norqain also feels obliged. Like the Wild One series was very much about that. They had a proprietary material that allowed them, that excused them to sell watches at a price point that they didn't necessarily try before. And here too, this kind of dial texture quickly seems to become Norqain's version of Zaratsu polishing, so to speak. They have to try hard to look different and edgy. Not sure if it's succeeding, but that is, I think, hand in glove with the.
Well, why? So why do they have to try hard to look? Because if that's the case, then why isn't Longines, which is selling a tremendous number of watches, right, trying to do it? Why isn't Raven, that's just a homage brand to Rolex, trying to do it? Like, I don't know if I agree with that assessment. Maybe that's what they think they're trying to do. I just don't know that that's
what do you
what they're doing.
What do you think, Swiss? What do you think about this? Hey, Robert.
Howdy.
Hey.
Hello.
I think Robert's unemployed now because it's way past his bedtime the last few streams he's joined.
No, I'm not unemployed.
Did you get fired, Robert?
No, I didn't get fired. Not yet, anyway.
I wait until they see you on my
on the streams. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're not going to tell them.
So what was the question?
Why do they try so hard when they are trying to sell watches at a price point that they haven't yet conquered? Like why are they always coming up with these sorts of edgy designs when they are jumping out of the 4K?
Well, they have to. They have to stand out, because you were talking about Longines. Don't forget that Longines is part of a huge conglomerate. They can do everything 1,000 times more production for much less, cost, because everything is industrialized so heavily. Norqain is a new brand. I don't know who owns Norqain, but they probably have much less, production freedom, and they have to stand out in some manner. And we can see there they are choosing the like a more flamboyant aesthetic and something that feels new and fresh. Why not?
Does that feel new and fresh to you?
I
feels
think,
different.
Ali,
It feels different.
Ali, I think you actually, whether you intended or not, I think the fact you brought up Longines is quite telling, and I actually agree with Swiss when it comes to this, but I'm going to address it from a slightly different perspective, because Longines does not only have the advantage of being part of the Swatch Group and having all the financial and material backing that provides. Longines is also one of the heritage brands, not only due to its long-standing history, but I think, when it comes to vintage collectors, after you put aside Rolex and Patek on the one hand, and maybe Omega and some other oddball brands, the Longines collector is a breed on its own. So Longines overall can actually bank on that legacy to make classically inspired watches, and it sits well with their image, which, after all, before Omega, it was Longines that was the official timekeeper of the Olympics, etc. So it's actually quite a brand, whereas Nokian is family owned, independent, and newly fangled brand. They do have to,
Yeah,
I
but they
think,
have.
do
I mean,
something
they have
different.
access to Kinesi. They've got Jean-Claude Biver on their board. It's like, I don't know, man. This design, though, I'm shocked when Swiss says, like, it's different or maybe fresh. Like, I'm shocked because I look
I mean,
at this.
you have to think about it. This is clearly not marketed for us. I mean, us as in watch nerds. This is clearly to attract new people, right? And I think you were talking about the legacy and everything, the history of Longines, Lord. I think you're overthinking this slightly because
Mhm.
let Longines is selling a ton of watches, right? And most people who buy Longines are just total random people. They don't know anything about watches. They just want a nice watch. And it happens that Longines makes nice watches at the entry level point.
As I hold up my lawn.
I assure you that 95% of Longines clients, they don't even know that it's a historic brand. They don't know anything about the brand. They say, "Oh, it's a nice watch. It looks,
Mhm.
it has the aesthetic of the classic watch," and they buy this, and it's a good watch. But we, as watch lovers, we know all about this, and we can theorize and draw all these conclusions. But these watches, the Norquin, even the Longines, most of them, they are not targeted for us. They are for the mass market, for the people that do not know anything about watches. So you have to make an impression to say, "Oh, that's terrible. The hobnail on the side of the bezel. I don't like
Yeah.
that."
I mean, I also don't understand why they had to have like the 24-hour bicolor inner ring, right? And then also what looks like a rotational bezel that's also 24-hour. I mean, if you really want to make it
Because
all,
they
Yeah,
have
out,
no idea. They have
that's
no
odd.
idea how to make a GMT.
you know, make
That's why.
make it either 112, 124, or just make it a timing bezel, 60-minute. I don't understand it from a functional design perspective either.
I don't
And
know.
it's funny that you mentioned Longines because they launched a new GMT today.
Right, and maybe that's a much better option than this Neverest, which is Neverest. Never again. Neverest GMT Glacier 41 millimeter. I love the bracelet. I have to say, it kind of looks like my Jarajanta's bracelet, kind of a bullet style. I really love that. But beyond that, I'm not sure I have any great things to say about this price point, which is
No.
$42.90 for the rubber bands.
Just get a tutor. Get a
And
tutor.
46.
That's the
Just-
thing, man.
Just get
Like,
the
if
new
you-
Longines for $27.50.
Yeah.
Or yeah, the
Just-
new Hydro Conquest, right? So
The new Hydro Conquest GMT,
No,
$27.50.
yeah.
40
I mean, just get the Zulu GMT.
Zulu
and
time for
there you go, yeah.
$3,400. Yeah.
so let me actually posit something else on the Norcon. I'm not aware. I've never seen them in a boutique. So does anybody know? Do they appear in boutiques?
Yeah,
yes.
they have their. Yeah, they have their network. Let me see who carries them in the US.
So
Maybe near you.
here we have Buchera who carries them, and they also have a few of their own boutiques.
Okay, so the Booker Associates in the United States must carry them as well. I've never seen them. So
Yeah, I haven't either.
They are they do feel really nice. You can feel that they are nicely
there was
built
I
and
held
nicely
that young lady when she went to work for them. There was an event. Shoot, I can't remember the model. I held one of like I think it's been like a year and a half, 2 years, and it was very well made. And I didn't have any complaints about it, but it was very simple. It's what I'm concerned about, and if you go back on JJ's show, I mentioned Norqain quite a few times until recently, because recently, the past like 6 months, they've decided to raise prices by 30%, and goes slightly sideways on design elements. And this latest
So
entry is just the worst of it.
the in the northern part of Florida, Reed's carries them, and in fact, in Miami,
Reeds.
beyond them, in Miami, they have their own U.S. headquarters. Apparently,
All right, Reeds it is.
See if they have that one. See what it looks like in person. But the pictures on the Norcanes, is what I'm talking about. Obviously, the pictures
Yeah.
are not good.
This is a nice watch right here. Very, very nice.
Yeah, I sort of like the brown one, and I never thought I would like a brown Sunray dial, but the brown
Brown
one's
dials
really
are hard
good
to pull
looking.
off, but when you pull them off, like the Vacheron Overseas Limited Brown, holy God, they're good. Other than the NATO, I think
There's the
that's a
brown.
nice looking watch.
There's the brown. That may be my favorite of the bunch.
yeah, it looks like
And no straight hobnail on the bezel.
No.
well, they're the classic notches, and it does look like a very vintage feeling, without exaggerating it, without making it look contrived. I think the brown has that sort of slightly aged feeling, and you see
It
the
does, but it's
outer-
also a very warm color. I like the warmth of that dial.
Yeah, and they did do what I was just talking about, right? There is the
Mhm.
bicolor
Yeah.
outer ring
Yeah.
for the 24 hours.
Mhm.
And since this is at least by origin a dive watch and still with 300 meters of water resistant, you have a 60 minutes rotational timing bezel with the first 15 minutes fully graduated as well.
Yeah, I like this one. They have the blue one is also pretty. The green one's okay. It's not quite as dark a green as I would want to see. The blue one's very nice as well. But for some reason, I just like that brown.
What's the retail on this one, buddy?
$27.50, I believe, on the bracelet, and if you get either a rubber or $27.75, if you get the rubber, it's $26. Oh, that one's still $27.75. I know that they had some that were lower price, but I guess that's just on the cloth strap. You can get a cloth as well, single pass NATO, which I wouldn't get a single pass NATO. I think the single pass NATO was like 26-ish, but I would get the bracelet.
I'm just not a
Yeah,
fan of
$26.75.
I'm just not a fan of the having both. At 6 and 9, it has a circular indices. Like putting square and circles together doesn't really work for me. But other than that, it's really good.
Mother of God. Yeah. See, the thing is, I would have noticed that too late. This is why I have to actually listen to these streams. Is what happens is that I'll look at a watch like this and be like, oh.
I mean,
man,
yeah,
I gotta
now
do it.
it stand out so bad.
Well, the thing is, what will happen though is that I'll be like, I gotta do it. Like I had to open another tab. I'm like looking at this watch, going, fuck it. Like maybe I'm just gonna. It will be another placeholder for a few months, right? And then I'll get it, and the first thing that will happen is I'll notice the circular.
The circles.
Yeah,
that
and I'll be
bothers
like,
you? That doesn't
"Mother of
bother me.
No, it does bother me, but I won't notice it till too late after I've already put the money down.
Yeah.
So,
well, most of them aren't available yet. So I think the blue one is the only one you can order now, and the other colors are coming soon.
Yeah, my favorite is the green. Green one is really nice.
I like the
With,
green one
black bezel.
too. I wish it was a slightly darker shade, more of a foresty green.
You don't like
But-
the puke green?
No, I don't.
You
But
prefer the poopy brown. I get it.
I prefer the baby poop brown. Yes, sir.
all right, that was unnecessary, but okay. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I think this is a great addition. I mean, already, of course, you had the Spirit Zulu time in 41 and 39. You know, they
Yeah,
had
it's-
just
yeah.
expanded that with a reduced size. No, 42 and 39.
42 and 39. Yeah.
This is apparently a little slimmer, even though it has better water resistance and more of a true blood sports watch. But the Zulu Time series is great too, and it's not much more expensive than this either.
No, I want to say it's about
3K, I think.
$1,000-ish more.
I think. Let's see. No, not even. It's about 3K.
Oh,
at
okay,
39.
300. Okay, yeah.
Robert,
That
do you
one
like
is
the
nice.
do you like the
The
Longines
Zulu is
A7?
really nice.
The which one?
The Longines A7.
What's the A7?
Yeah, I have to look that up.
I just thought of that when I was looking at Robert. I'm like, he's gonna like the A7.
87 or A7?
No, A7, Ali-7.
Well, let me
Oh,
look it
I
up
see,
here
I
real
see.
quick. Maybe it's the one I have on now. I have no idea.
Mm,
Yeah, again, I have
would be
minor
impressive if you had that.
I have minor qualms about one or the other, but I think they're great looking watches. I mean, the 5-star
Oh,
logo
okay.
I cannot take with this one, but and what Swiss pointed out for the Hydro Conquest kind of mix and match of different indices would get to me as well, but I think that's a great option at the price point.
You know what, Ali? That's a cool looking watch. I love the font of the
You like the
A7.
A7?
I like the font. I'm not a huge fan of I don't like the Vacheron that does that too, the Historique that has it's at an angle, but I like the look and I like the font.
I've been trying to find out.
Yeah,
I like
it's also a very, very
The cathedral hand is nice.
historic watch. Like, wait, where is it? They used to do these in the 30s, like 1930s.
Yeah.
So it's a very old design.
Oh wow, I hate it.
Well, now that's not the one you're looking at a different font. I was looking at the white face with the
Big orange.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see which one that is.
I don't know if they have that on the new website or not. I was looking at the old historic looking one.
Okay, let's see.
I'm gonna
No, I
give
don't.
you the
I don't
link.
like that one.
I put the link in the. Oh, well, there you have it. To the image.
Okay, well, I like this better, I have to say. I think again, it's kind of designed by the committee, had to have the date window somewhere, even though it absolutely doesn't belong with the design, right? All
No,
these
it doesn't.
beautiful, cathedral hands and this very unique font, oversized numerals and everything. Man,
I just have one question. Why is there a scrotum on the hour hand?
God damn it!
It's called
Mr.
a cathedral
GMT.
hand.
Mr. GMT, get out of this body.
It even has
And suddenly a wild GMT appears.
Oh Lord!
uh,
And you thought that Norcane GMT was wild? Ha ha!
There we go.
So
ooh,
is
they
this
were
also-
spicy in the 1930s.
Is this also a monopusher chronograph?
It looks
too?
like it. Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a chronograph because you got a small seconds and then the large chronograph hand
Hmm.
Yeah,
and a 30-minute counter.
Yeah,
But yeah, mono pusher, interesting.
great. I mean, very, very functional, very unique look, and I think do they still have this version in production
I
as
don't
well?
think so. I don't think so. They have the one that you hated before. But
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one either. This one I like basically because of the font and the font color and the way it works with the dial and all of that. I still don't like the angle. I'm still not a big angle person, but I like the watch face on this one a lot better.
Yeah, the original versions of these are very interesting too. I just found the Hodinke article that did an expose on this, and they're showing the example from Alfredo Paramico's collection, an actual 1935. Looks amazing. Of course, it doesn't have a date, so that helps.
That's nice.
Well, in 1935, you didn't need to know the date, really, did you?
Well, I mean, it's this is a pilot's watch. I mean, the
Yeah.
black dial also signifies that you weren't supposed to land in the first place. You know, you were already dead while you were flying. So forget about the date.
Yeah, and I
Well,
mean,
that escalated quickly.
you were talking about Longines' heritage. I mean, that is their heritage is pilot watches
It's crashing dead
and
pilots.
aviation.
Turtle Knight, thank you for reminding everyone to upvote. Mookie, welcome to the channel, and Chili Badger,
Mookie.
thank you. Correct. No dates on a trench type watch. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. It's it feels. Look, forget about the historical standpoint. I know I can be quite a nerd about that too, but just from an aesthetic standpoint, what a wonderful balance you have there between the two subdials. Why would you interrupt that in a willy-nilly way and put a cutout here? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, because at some point, I don't know why, every brand were like, oh, we must put a date on our watch and ruin everything. So all of them used
You're
to
not
have
wrong either. It's like no dates used to be very easy to find,
Yeah,
very nice no
yeah,
dates,
no
and
dates.
suddenly,
like, why date? Why?
I don't know, it drives me nuts. A date's
Well,
useless on an iWatch and on your phone screen as well.
I think it goes back to something very insightful Swiss said about who these watches are made for. At the end of the day, I think maybe the masses actually do want a date, and it is people like us who really nerd out about every single nuance and contest everything so much and protest every single little detail on a watch. But cathedral hands, the stylistic or stylized font, historical inspiration, all of that's added. I just feel it's out of place. It's cool. It looks like a nicely sized watch too. Not too small, not too large. I wonder what the diameter was on this one.
I know. It's got a scrotum, so it doesn't matter anymore.
41 apparently.
3,500, and then yeah.
So 41. I wonder what the original size was.
35.
Don't know actually, because it's I mean it is something designed for the cockpit, so chances are that it may have been big.
And the 30s too, really?
Yeah.
Mm.
Pilot
Probably
watch.
not 41. I would guess maybe 36 or 7 at the max from the mid 30s.
Let me find out. There we go.
Probably available on eBay.
49.
No, not 49. Oh yeah.
49
shit.
mils?
51. The 1935, it's a 51 mil.
Oh my gosh.
So Hodinki says the Type A7 1935 comes on a leather strap with a stainless steel, while the original Type A6 measures a cool 49, or perhaps including the crown 51, a size that was typical for military watches of the 1930s. This one is a much more conservative 41
So,
millimeter.
Wow.
so Ali, you would need the original one.
All right, this sounds like it's available. The hell, that's crazy.
Man, Paramiko is really living the life.
Or he has to
Well,
overcompensate.
What?
Did you see the guy, the shape that guy is in? I don't think he has to overcompensate for anything. Do you want me to pull up his Instagram? Look, I this might also attract Mr. GMT to the panel, so I'm gonna do it.
Oh god,
He's-
this is rude.
Let's see.
Well, he's
On the right.
Yeah, I mean that's a shape. I'm a shape too. My shape's round, but
You're in shape. Round is a shape.
yeah, round is a shape.
How old is this dude?
I don't know. Timeless.
Yeah, literally, he's well preserved. He's made mostly formaldehyde and TRT.
I mean, it's incredible. I've never been in that kind of shape in my teens or 20s either, even though I was an athlete. So you have to kind of give it chapeau, so to speak, as one would say in Italian.
At this point, I would like to remind the audience of two things. One is that
Yes,
Young
sir.
Brando has a subscription model and appreciates your super chats, upvotes, and support. And the second is, for all the women out there, he likes older women, so you can slide into his DMs.
Well, sure. Why not? Why not? Why not?
He ain't fighting it.
No, I mean, because I'm guessing my public image has been so rehabilitated that it is recognized by now that I'm straight, so I don't have to say that anymore. But
Oh my
yeah,
god!
that's good.
Dude,
Yeah.
that watch is a monster, that Giorgenta. Damn.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, the bracelet that looks like a keyboard. What is that officially called?
I don't know which one are we talking about? This one or this one?
That one, the second one. That looks like a
Maybe-
keyboard. It looks like an old style IBM clackety clack keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like Swiss's keyboard. Maybe brick style. What would you say, Swiss? What would you call
Yeah.
that in French or in any other language?
Pavé, maybe.
Pave.
It looks like a pavement.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Oh.
Like a cobblestone kind of situation, maybe.
Okay, I'm just gonna call it a wombat shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's horrible. It's horrible. I'm sorry. There's nothing. I hate it. Kill it with fire.
I think
Turtle
in
Knight's
English,
last comment. Please pull up Turtle Knight's last comment. Oh my god.
in English it's probably brick, but let's see. Turtle Knight says Piruka's scrotum must look a little different to mine. I would also wonder how he gained a perspective on that particular part of his body. But let's continue. When I look down, I can't tell the hour. I don't think you can see your scrotum just by looking down, Turtle Knight. You might have to try harder.
That's fantastic.
Hey, I will just add that if you pull the lever, I will ding for you. So
Oh my god. No.
Are you saying you're a minute repeater? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no.
So much homoeroticism and no Mr. GMT.
No,
This
yeah,
is such
we're
a
like
waste.
we're really baiting him. He must be really busy.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's cooking his chicken or doing something else with his chicken. I don't know what.
Stuffing it.
Yeah.
Or
it's-
stuffing a chicken. I'm going to hell.
Yes, you are.
I'm going to hell. Forget it.
Well, we'll
Very
all
nice,
be
very
we'll all be sitting on that burning rock together.
No comment. Burning rock. Okay.
Hey, fire and brimstone. Burning rock, brimstone.
Sure.
Anyway,
Oh, God. Okay, let's go down to something more muted. Seiko apparently is coming out with a limited edition of the King Seiko line, limited to 600 pieces, with this chrysanthemum
Mm,
pattern on the dial. Which-
Isn't chrysanthemum the flower that you put on the graveyards? That's an odd thing that,
It is. You're
especially
right.
the Japanese, they really think about all these details about design.
I'm not an expert on Japanese culture by any
It would be
shape
bad
or
omen,
imagination,
I
but
would
I think
say.
it has I think it does have a wider significance of meanings rather than
Mm.
just being a funereal flower. But let me see in the background while you guys talk
In
about it.
Japanese culture, it symbolizes royalty, longevity, and rejuvenation.
oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the thing is but it's not associated with that in white chrysanthemums are symbolic of death and often used for funerals or on a grave as well. Like that's the thing. They also use it on a grave. So,
But that might actually hang together, Ali, when you think about it, because
rejuvenation and yeah,
right, because if you present that kind of flower to a gravesite, in fact, you are symbolizing a kind of afterlife, rejuvenation, so on and so forth.
Then you will resuscitate as a beautiful butterfly.
All right. What do we think with all these visual signatures of
those
what
lugs are
usually,
terrible. I hate
usually
those
like
lugs.
Grand Seiko look? I get confused, man. I mean, I have the same problem about Grand Seiko as well. Seiko has too many different lines that I can't quite differentiate and separate out. But yeah, so Swiss doesn't like the lugs.
I have a question. Can you think you can file your nails on that 12-hour indices? I mean, look at it. Look at that.
exactly.
You can do your manicure on that watch. It's perfect.
I actually,
that's horrible.
Since I think that Grand Seiko should be devolved into just the Seiko brand as a whole,
like it used to be.
Like it used to be in King Seiko and Grand Seiko, and just be grades within the brand. I like where they're going with this relative to the current Grand Seiko revisions, but I wouldn't like this watch myself.
I sort of like it, but I agree with Swiss about the lugs. Honestly, I wish they were polished instead of brushed, and I don't like the shape of them. But I kind of like the face of that. I think it's very artistic.
I really like the dial. Otherwise, again, the branding confuses me. But King Seiko is also their historical sub-brand. I guess they do want to preserve it somehow. I feel the lugs don't. I don't know what's going on here. The lugs don't look as bad when the watch is on the strap. I think they look very severe in some way. combined with the bracelet. But it's like neither fish nor fowl, you know. There's a nice bevel there, nicely mirror polished, and then very distinctly grain brushed on the surface. You know, it doesn't mesh well for me.
Yeah. And, no, go ahead, Swiss.
Yeah, I have a big problem with the dial. To me, it looks like cheap plastic that they put in the waffle maker, and like, I mean,
Oh wow. Huh.
to
Thank
me,
you,
it looks
Turtle
very
Knight,
cheap.
by the way.
It doesn't look luxurious to me.
Thank you, Turtle Knight, by the way, for your $7.99 Australian number
you.
1 super sticker. I appreciate it. And he does say King Seiko kind of did die, I guess.
Hey,
is,
that's
long
why
time.
they did the flowers. Nice.
It's their rejuvenation.
I don't know that I hate the dial as much as Swiss does.
I kind of, I actually love the dial pattern still, but I love the nail filer comments that he made about the double.
No, yeah, that's terrible. That
I
aspect
mean,
is
it is really, I don't know what they were thinking there.
No, they
and-
just
and-
mounted the thing backwards. You know, it was.
And there's
And the
just there's so much brushing on this thing, even, you know, because there's a brush polish look on the indices as well. I mean, for a company that takes pride in their polishing, there's too much brushing on this watch.
Well, I mean, partly it is about the contrast, but I think it's perhaps overdone, Robert. You are right, and the lugs are probably the sorest sticking point about that contrived approach. Perhaps I think the dial on its own I like quite a bit. I like that simplistic approach to like a contemporary dress watch aesthetic. I could live with the date window, even though it's never my favorite. And the watch on the strap looks nice, but yeah, the lugs, I think they're also too fat. You know, I just wish they were a little
It looks
more
like a
curved.
golfing divot tool. Like the lugs really do throw the proportions of
I
this
don't
watch
know.
off.
To me, this watch makes no sense. It looks like it was made by AI. I don't know.
And Jake is right. If you pull up his comment, there is a Presage with a very similar dial pattern to this one. I can't remember the color of the Presage with this pattern though. I want to say it was a brown dial.
Poopy brown.
Possibly. Look, I'm about to be around a baby 24/7, so I'm just preparing myself
Better
for
get
watching that
used to
color.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, getting ready.
I hate to break it to you, it's
Yeah.
definitely not that color.
No, it's not. It's a little bit lighter towards the greenish side, actually.
Are we talking about the Seiko Presage dial or baby poop?
We're talking about baby poop.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm perfectly childless, so I have no idea what all that means.
But look, you were saying there is too much brushing. Hey, look, at least the backside is perfectly polished.
The backside that will scratch on a dime.
What's the price of that watch?
$7.03.
No.
Damn it.
3,400.
Oh my god!
And select retailers.
Oh, what a waste of money.
Well, that's kind of painful waste of money right there.
I just wish it wasn't 3,400.
Honestly, there's a lot I like about the watch, but the whole package somehow falls short of me saying yes to it. I mean, I wish,
Yeah.
the lugs, the design and the finish of the lugs really kill it for me beyond anything else.
Well, what bothers me about Seiko pricing these days is everything new coming out creeps closer and closer to Grand Seiko pricing. If I'm going to pay that much for a Seiko, it better have Grand in front of it.
Well, they better just get rid of they got to get rid of the damn brand, the brand delineation, and roll Grand Seiko in with King Seiko. There's no reason for this mess. And stop with the price hikes.
And then
Like
what do you do
you
about
finally have an opportunity to make a bigger dent into the traditionally Swiss held market, and at the same time that China and the rest of APAC is rising, Seiko's going off the deep end with their pricing and their branding. Like, not a good time to do it.
And then, of course, you still have Crador.
Yeah, no, I don't want to talk about that. They hurt my feelings.
The thing about Credor is also, traditionally it has been all over the place too. Like the fact that it has been reconceptualized as the absolutely high horological and artistic line of Seiko, that's a pretty recent.
Yeah, it's only a few years old.
You know what's the problem? This watch right there, it has no soul.
Tell us more about what
Swiss is like. There's no soul. This one has testicles. That one has. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he's just all over the place.
No,
What
this
do you
watch
mean?
is all over the place.
What do you mean by that? That it has no soul?
To me, this watch, it feels like it was designed by a computer. I cannot see any human putting this together and feel like, oh, this is nice. Design-wise, I don't know. It is so messed up.
I don't know if you dial this dial a lavender or pink color, it does remind me about somebody else that is allegedly human.
What?
I'll just leave that out there for a little while.
Okay.
I think honestly, it could be. Now that you said it, I'll take that as an idea. If it had actually maybe a pinkish or lavender-like tint to the dial, and Chili Badger put this in the chat as well, that the textured white strap looks like a lady's handbag. It could perhaps be with more
Ladies
curved,
watch smaller.
curved, gentle, lugs. It could be a nice ladies watch. I think I can see that. I think the proportions already would allow that because it's like 38.6.
Oh yeah, it's workable.
So it's, it could have been
Yeah.
interesting.
You definitely have to thin out those lugs, though.
The nail filer would come in handy as well.
The sapphires, you just pop it out, file your nails. All right, gentlemen, I'm calling it a night. Oh man. Then we have Powered by Steel Buffalo Motor. I'm going to go look at Indian motorcycles this weekend. It will be Brando's fault.
Oh yeah, that would be great. I mean, I have actually, right before you go, Adi, I actually just today ordered even a microphone set, like two Bluetooth wireless microphones. So we actually have, at least for me and Ben, the owner of the shop, better sound. So it'll be good. I mean, the
little road bricks, are those what you ordered?
Say it again.
The little road bricks.
Yeah, Rode Wireless Go
Okay.
2, I think the model is called. Yeah.
Yeah, those are good mics.
They better be good. I paid more than $300.
Yep.
I'm going broke. So they better be good.
And
Rode is
your
a good
shows
brand,
on Sunday from there, correct?
Yes, Sunday at 1 for your time, I'm guessing.
Good
Yeah, that would
deal.
be 4 Eastern, 3 my time, 2 Mountain. Get your GMT watches out and we'll all coordinate.
Exactly.
But it will be a 2-hour program, so it will have some replay value too, I hope. and it will be a very freewheeling discussion. Ben is an interesting character, certainly the kinds of which we like in the horological space here on YouTube. So I think it will be great. And yeah, the bike questions are always welcome.
This could be fun. All right, gentlemen, and Peruka, and Mr. GMT, who's lingering in the background, just waiting to pounce. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Wear your watches.
Good night.
Have a good one, my friend. We'll see you later.
That was good. It's always nice to have you on board, Ali. And thank you, Robert and Swiss, for coming along the ride as well. Did you guys have anything else in mind to talk about?
No, we covered the Longines, which is what I wanted to make sure everybody saw, because I really, really like that watch, the new GMT. Really like it.
I actually really wanted to talk about this new Vulcane Cricket dive watch. Did you guys see that at all?
You know, I've heard of it. I don't think I've really seen it, or at least seen it up close.
It's right here from a piece that a Blog to Watch published. It's basically the dive watch version with a 300-meter water resistance of their classic alarm wristwatch.
Huh. And it still has the alarm in it because it's got an alarm hand. I'm assuming that's what that red tip is, right?
Mm-hmm. That's how you arrange the alarm with the extra crown. What do we think about
I mean,
this?
I guess the complication is nice, but God, that is ugly.
Swiss, are you okay?
I mean, it's just an ugly watch. I mean,
It
Look at it.
it looks really retro though. I kind of like that part of it. Excuse me, and I'm assuming that since it's the Cricket, it's got the vibrating,
yeah.
weird sounding alarm in it,
Yeah. Mhm.
which I actually like. I say weird sounding. I like that kind of an alarm watch.
And both the case back design and the domed crystal kind of acts as a resonating chamber for that alarm. So it might have a great sound. I haven't listened to these dive watch versions, but that comes at the expense of wearability a little bit, because it's 17.35 millimeter in thickness and 42.2 in diameter, apparently.
Yeah, because I'm assuming since it's a dive watch, they can't put the holes in the back that let the sound out like you can in the traditional one. I would assume that anyway.
I think they still have,
You know what? They do.
but it doesn't open. That's an additional
Yeah, that's why it's so thick.
Mhm.
external chamber. It's not. It doesn't compromise.
Right, it doesn't go into the actual watch case itself. So it's used more like a resonator for the sound rather than holes to let the sound escape. It just is a resonator.
Yeah. Did they really have to put both meters in feet? It uses so much space. On the
I know
scale.
they just could have used feet because that's what
Yeah.
the civilized world uses, right?
One of the two. I mean, pick one, but not both.
I was just giving you heck because I
Yeah,
figured
I know. I mean,
yeah, the
I know
center
you
is
guys
just
like feet, but
there you. Yeah, we have a thing about that.
yeah.
The middle of it is so busy. I just wish they didn't have all the stuff in the middle. I mean, I realize why it's there, but there's just a lot.
I'm sure you could come up with a more clever design than this. This looks. It looks like a draft that you do at 2 a.m. Oh, I have a nice idea. Let's just do this. And yeah, it's not working for me.
I don't know. I kind of actually I like the dial. It kind of
Yeah.
reminds you down of the Mido decompression timer.
Yes.
Robert, what were you saying?
No, you froze
Yeah,
there
you
for a
did-
minute, and
you
I
did
just
cut
said,
out for
"Uh-oh."
like 2 seconds.
But you're back now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, my connection sometimes lags a little bit. I don't understand why. I mean, it's just the quality of it. There's nothing I can do about it because that's the only service available in my building. So I'm kind of stuck with it. But yeah, going back to it, the dial design is admittedly busy, but compared to what it reminds me of, which is actually a watch I really like, the Mido Ocean Star decompression timer. It's actually a more muted down version of that in a way. And I don't know, I kind of like it. But I like alarm wristwatches to begin with.
I do too.
Again, you might say, both the Memovox and Cricket in their original versions are actually quite unadorned and simple and beautiful watches in that way. So maybe I do understand what Swiss is saying.
And you were talking about the Mido. The Mido, if I recall correctly, was a watch that was first made like in the 60s. And at that time, it was common to make those goofy watches. But this just came out. It was just released. This Vulcan.
I think it is a remaking of a previous version.
It is a remake of a historical watch.
I think so.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, because yes, of course, I just saw one of the originals on Eric Wynn's inventory. Let me see if he still has it, and we can pull that up to compare.
Vulcan, Cricket, Diver.
Vulcan, you said?
Yeah. Oh, there is a extreme version.
Extreme.
Extreme. Oh, that's ugly.
It's-
Oh, God.
Let me see. I think Eric had posted. Yeah. Here's the original from 1965.
All right. Okay. Well, then it partly, slightly excuses the shit design.
Yeah, I mean, they did stick to the original design.
Oh, then buy the original.
I mean, it looks a lot like the original without the patina, the new one.
Yeah, this is beautiful, and apparently, it was given as a prize on an episode of The Price is Right back in 1965.
Wow.
Story as well. But yeah,
The price is right.
if people were wondering about the Mido reference, this is their 60s watch. It's a decompression timer in the world time interpretation, which makes it even more obnoxiously busy.
But it's more aesthetic, much more aesthetic.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Like I kind of like
look,
how loud and busy.
I'm sending you another image. Much better alternative. Also from Vulcan. That looks like that Mido, much more like that Mido. It has that 60s vibe in a 60s case. same complication.
I love it.
Looks much better. This is much better. Come on.
I love it.
They should remake that one. Wait,
I actually
did they
love it.
remake?
I like
It's called
case.
the Cricket Nautical.
Yeah, I actually like the case too. kind of.
That is really nice. This is really
Yeah.
nice.
Tonneau, but you know,
And the case has a
It's rough.
sunburst finish. Like,
Yeah.
wow, that's nice.
Yeah, what makes this one better than the other one is the well, not only the case, but the color in the face too.
Yeah, and it works with the strap, with the
Yeah, it
black
does,
strap
yeah.
with the orange.
With the
image.
orange and the orange on the face.
That's brilliant.
Captain says, poll question: which one is uglier, the vintage or the new one?
The vintage looked okay. The new one doesn't look good, in my opinion.
I mean, I think they're both about equal. But I agree with you. I do
But
like
the
this one better.
vintage had everything smaller hands, smaller font,
True.
smaller. It looked better. The new one, it doesn't. See, it's somewhat readable. The new one is. They want to make everything fat and big. I don't know. It doesn't work. It's more busier, in my opinion.
And by the way, it's not a cheap watch either.
And it's $5,000.
the
Damn.
official retail price is $4,862 which is
For a vibrating watch.
4,200 Swiss francs. Yeah, that is a little salty.
You're saying salty because of the ocean?
I suppose. I suppose, yeah, that works. Since it's the Cricket Nautical dive watch, like Swiss said, almost $5,000, and rather unwieldy in its proportions too. 42.2 millimeter in diameter and 1735 in thickness because of the domed crystal and the resonance chambers.
Yeah, that's a big boy. That's like wearing a Rolex Deep Sea
Yes.
as far as the thickness goes. And I guess Deep Sea is slightly larger case size, but not much.
Not
I
by
think
much.
it's what 44 Deep Sea.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you, Swiss. The older one does look better. I'm not a big fan of either one of them, but I really kind of dug that other one with the color.
Oh, there is a nice Vacheron right there. Is that the Vacheron?
This one?
Yeah. Oh, it's a Jaeger.
JJ Lecoute.
Looks really nice.
Yeah.
Gary Getz just posted Vacheron similar to that he had
Yeah.
restored by Vacheron Constantin. No moon
That
phase, but
must
strip
have
talent.
cost a fortune. Having
Probably.
Vacheron restore a watch. Oh my god.
Well, you know, probably not a dent in Gary's budget, so to speak, but I know exactly what you mean. And the lugs look amazing on this piece.
Oh yeah.
The stepped lugs, man. I mean, Vacheron always makes
That
a
watch is
difference
fantastic.
in the
That
lugs.
looks really good.
So this is from the profile. Look at how
Big crown. Strong lugs.
So the thing that gets me though
See,
about
this
this watch,
watch has a soul. You can feel it.
this one's the original, by the way, original condition
yeah,
from which Vacheron Constantin.
Oh, so he chose to change the language from English to French. Oh no,
Uh,
wait.
no, it's the same.
Okay, I thought it was okay. I stand corrected.
But you're going to think I'm stupid. But my favorite thing about this watch is the crispness of the applied numerals. They're just so beautifully crisp.
Yeah,
Look
I
at
mean,
Look at
ba-
that.
it's basically new old stock now too, so it
Yeah.
really
I mean,
jumps.
it's fully restored to original finish. Look at those tiny hands. I love those. The tiny baton hands.
Yeah,
Should do more of it.
and of course curved at the end to accommodate
Yeah.
the curvature of the crystal as well. The dagger-shaped indices that are mixed up with Arabic numerals at quarters. And here's the newly finished movement as well. But yeah, those triple calendar moon phase watches from the time period by JLC, by Vacheron Constantin, by Cartier, they're all beautiful.
1, 2, 3, 4 interior angles. Beautiful. Really nice.
Yeah, fantastic piece.
Imagine you're a watchmaker. You have to service quartz and broken Seikos and shit watches every day. And then someone turns up with this. And you're like, wow, finally.
It's either like, wow, finally, or, oh my God, what do I do now?
Well, you can just admire and fix what you can.
Yeah,
Which-
that's true. Oh, that's just absolutely gorgeous.
What did you guys think about the Unimatic Hodinkee collaboration? We were just kind of talking about how people price these watches at an exorbitant level using different case materials as an excuse. For me, these forged carbon fiber cases seem to be an instance of that. Have you guys
They
seen?
are very easy to make.
Yeah.
I
but
was
also,
shocked how easy it is to make those carbon cases.
I was shocked at the pricing of these
Yeah.
pieces, that are
So,
almost 3,000 for the
yeah.
GMT, and for the 300 it's 2,200.
Hmm.
You were shocked in a good way or a bad way?
Bad way. I think it's way
Yeah.
expensive. It's almost 300 for the GMT.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of carbon cases.
You know what? The one on the
Yeah.
left I do really like. It has a shit strap. I would change it immediately, but the watch itself, it looks good.
The only
You know-
reason I like it better is because the bezel covers up a bunch of that carbon that's around the other one.
I was gonna say the same thing, Robert, because to me the reason I like this full frontal aesthetic of the GMT a little better is because it mostly looks like a blacked out watch, and I like that aesthetic. But the marble texture of the forged carbon fiber, to me, just literally, I'm not even trying to use harsh words, but it literally looks like a crumpled up trash bag. I mean, it's not a nice look. It's not a good aesthetic. I don't see why it's even used, to be honest. Is it a sustainable material? Perhaps. I don't even think so.
We don't know because we need the test of time, and it's a fairly new material, so we don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I think
like I remember there was an interview with Philippe Dufour, and they were saying, "Oh, now most brands are using silicon escapement. Why don't you use silicon escapement?" And he was saying, "Well, we know for a fact that normal metallic escapement they last for hundreds and hundreds of years. So why change?"
Yeah, Roger Smith said the same thing, basically,
Yeah,
saying
and
like, I can.
silicon escapement. We don't know. We don't know if it's gonna last that long. If it breaks, then you have to replace it. No, and maybe it's gonna last 10 years, maybe 20, 30, 50. No, we don't know. And then when it breaks, can you replace that? Because it's extremely hard to make. And if the brand itself, I don't know, just changes hands 10 times and they lose all the know-how, and it becomes a problem.
And if it breaks, how will it break? I mean, if it shatters, that might be
Yeah.
quite detrimental to the rest of the movement as well. Whereas transitional metal doesn't really shatter. It can, I guess, it can break and fail just like anything else. But yeah, I mean, you can, again, from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you can get a mechanical pocket watch. And if you're a watchmaker worth your salt, you can probably build it from scratch, service it, and put it back in a working condition. Like you said, Swiss, quoting from another important independent watchmaker, we don't know whether that would be the case in the next century with watches with silicon hairsprings. But yeah, as an aesthetic, I like the look of the GMT watch better. But like Robert said, when it comes to this Modello Uno carbon GMT, I think that's mostly due to the matte black 24-hour bezel, which is, again, a nice aesthetic, but kind of takes away from the utility of a 24-hour bezel, because it should really ideally be bicolor, have that day-night separation. But that's just a minor nitpick. For me, the main problem with these is the pricing. It feels a little excessive for the kind of watch provided. I think it's also a simple GMT movement, so I think you can adjust the 24-hour hand independently, but you can't jump the hours for the local time, I believe. So that's a drawback as well.
So I see why they don't have a bicolor bezel, because they have bicolor numbers. Top numbers are darker than the bottom.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
That's true. You're right.
So there is a delineation, but I agree with you. It's very hard to see.
No, but at least there is, I can see that. I buy that logic, because they wanted to go with that largely blacked out aesthetic and had that subtle distinction. So I do appreciate that, even though I didn't see it immediately.
But I think what I would have done is I would have kept the top black, and I would have made the bottom a similar color to the swirling pattern so a grayish that would have matched your swirling color in your carbon. And I think you would have gotten the same or better aesthetic. And I wouldn't charge $2,900 for it either.
Yeah, I'm just getting stuck at the price point, especially when we were looking at Longines watches, which have just a very compelling offering right around 3,000, both with the Zulu Time and the new Hydro Conquest GMT. And between the two styles and different case sizes they have going on, that covers a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And quite an interesting
And I don't know what,
offering there.
I don't know what movement is in here, because the Longines movement in both cases is a in-house true GMT.
I think this is a SOP rod for the GMT, though I'm not sure. Let me double check.
Oh, it's not that important. I was just wondering.
I mean, I think it is important. I will.
I guess if you're charging $2,900 for the watch, it's important. Yeah.
It's an ETA. ETA modified on the 2893.2. I mean, Longines in-house is a modified.
It's a modified ETA too. Yeah, I was going to say that's probably pretty close to the same movement.
Not sure though if they are comparable movements still. So, whereas Longines Zulu time movements. Let me see. Is called L844-4, and that is based on ETA A31L01, which is a modified ETA 2892-82. So it's it's similar in terms of performance, power reserve, etc. But Longines is a so-called flyer GMT in the sense that it does have a independently adjustable jump style hour hand,
right?
Whereas this one, I believe, has only the independently adjustable 24-hour hands. You can't jump this one by one for each time zone. This one. Yeah, and I have no love, unfortunately, for the time-only version. I think that's just a miss for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, the index at 6 tells you the full story. It just fell flat, just like this watch.
Good night, Andrew. Thank you for being with us. Honestly, in terms of the design detail, that was something that I always appreciated about Unimatic, but I also appreciate your insights, Swiss, for this particular release, especially. I think, yeah, that's a big no for me for the time only. I'm a little warmer towards the GMT version, the Modello Uno, but even that's creeping up to almost $3,000 leaves something to be desired. And I'm not a huge fan of that marbled appearance of the forged carbon fiber case at any rate.
So how about we talk about good watches for once? Can I send you a link?
First, Swiss, let's pull it up.
Let me put it. Maybe you already talked about it. I think it came out like today or yesterday. I sent you an Instagram link.
Instagram. Yeah, I mean, even if we talked about it, you weren't. Wait, you said let's talk about good watches for a change, and you are sending me this shit.
Yeah. Maybe
I
I
hope-
was slightly sarcastic.
Okay, I'm glad. Okay, let's talk about it then.
Yes.
We're looking at this Artisan de Genève monstrosity that was made in collaboration with the new horological tastemaker, as seen on Hodinkee Talking Watches, Adam Levine, the new John Mayer, so to speak.
Right.
What the hell is this?
Well, it's a Daytona.
But it's not. That's the problem for me. I mean, and I'm not saying is not as a purist Swiss. I have a particular problem with this watch. I have already ranted about the whole Hodinkee Talking Watches venture and the desperation of trying to come up with the next John Mayer. So I'm gonna save my breath and save people the time. You can just jump back to the episode from 2 days ago and listen to the first 20 minutes for that.
Yep.
Daytona is distinguished in Rolex's catalog as an expression of classical taste. I haven't experienced the new case yet, but up until the recent generations, even the wearability and proportions of the case would testify to that. It doesn't have a date. It doesn't try hard to be something else. No open work dials, not even display case backs until this most recent generation. This whole thing looks like a cheap gas station watch. I mean, especially like the glow in the dark. What is this? A Citizen? This is supposed to be Rolex. I mean,
It's a mishmash of whatever.
No disrespect to Citizen, but this is not supposed to be on a Daytona dial and bezel. Glow in the dark? Seriously? I mean,
even look like very basic design on the dial? They put 2 screws at the most random location.
Yeah.
Like,
And they're not even facing the same direction.
yeah.
What is this, a Hublot? And
So
why
I have a question, Lord. You might know or not know that. So Adam Levine had a pristine condition Paul Newman.
Yeah.
Is that the one that he used to make this custom watch?
God, I hope not.
No. This is
No.
This is a new watch that was
Okay.
it's a contemporary piece that was customized. But Periscope had something to say about that pristine condition Paul Newman as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
So why is the tack bezel off?
But just before we get to that, I do want to, that detail you both pointed out, right, about the exposed screws. So we were looking at this beautiful piece designed by Theo Frey and Peter Mambeda, so the 3 young guns, right? And Peter Mambeda's signature is to have those exposed screws on the dial. Again, how they are screwed aside, the placement, it testifies to a certain alignment, right?
Absolutely. These are aligned.
One is between 1
right.
and 2. One is between 7 and 8, and they actually also are in alignment with the handstand as well, the central pinion 2. Look at that, and now.
And they're also small and unobtrusive.
On the Rolex, they are really at 2 random locations. They don't align. It's really bothering me.
And they're not small and unobtrusive.
Yeah,
like
they are gigantic.
The other ones is, yeah. I mean, honestly, if the first time I saw the watch that you brought up a while ago with the 2 screws in it, I didn't notice the screws the first time.
I mean,
they're just not that noticeable. These are noticeable. I mean, especially when you've got part of the dial cut out to fit the freaking screws in.
Maybe there is some hidden significance, or I don't know. Maybe, my daughter was born at 21, so I want 2 screws, one at 10 and one at 20.
Oh
No,
my
it's
God,
26.
they're not even in those cutouts.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they're even placed in the middle. Wow.
No, they don't.
My local carpenter would do a more fine job than that.
Hey. A lot of my ancestors were carpenters, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look.
I'm just saying.
What is this? No, I mean, I'm just joking. But yes, of course. Like, it's not putting a screw on a working man's table is not the same as working on a watch dial. I get the point exactly, Swiss. Don't worry. But like even those slimy green accents, like why mix that aesthetic with the look of a fake Paul Newman exotic dial?
And then to top all of this up, they choose like rose or yellow gold, or like a mix between rose and yellow that totally does not complement the dial, in my opinion.
Is that what they're saying? This is not Ever Rose?
I don't know what it is, but I have no clue what it is.
Oh.
I think it is
Is
not
that-
matching. It's
Yeah.
a Daytona Lumen. That's what it is.
And
Yeah.
It's a Lumen Tuna.
Lumen has something special about it, even though I'm not necessarily truly, truly in love with it. But Lumen is also, transparent too, right? The luminous sections of the dial are transparent as well, and it brings something special out
Obviously.
of the discs behind it. So here, really, it just cheapens the entire look. Like when you look here, I mean, I don't know. I don't see like even the making of the bezel here. It just looks cheap. The bezel insert, like a tubular.
Yeah. They printed on top of that tubular thing. Looks a bit goofy.
are you talking about the bezel there?
Yeah, the bezel,
Yeah,
the printing
bezel
on the
insert,
bezel.
like because it goes into a ring, like in the newer
Right.
models.
Well, and am I wrong, or aren't the units per hour off? Because isn't units per hour supposed to be printed up by where the 55 is?
Well, yeah, I mean, they just shifted the.
Yeah, I mean that
Thing.
that shouldn't matter in terms of measurement. They can
Yeah.
place
As long as you have 60 at 12 o'clock, it's correct.
But yeah, I'm trying to find a good thing to say, but I guess like the only thing, again, only defensible thing, which is what they try to insist on, is it's a one-off thing. It's one of a kind. He masterminded the whole project, but if anything, this testifies to his bad taste. I mean, you don't just do something original just because you can and just because you want to mix a bunch of different things. It needs to cohere into a nice image. And again, like, this guy is not just some random billionaire either. And not that there's anything wrong. I mean, if people make their money in legal means,
Well, yeah.
far be it from me to condemn it in any way. But what I mean is, this guy is presumably an artist. Like, the guy can write a song. If you can write a song, you must have some sort of artistic vision. certainly doesn't apply to horology, whatever artistic vision that he has, because this piece just doesn't come together.
I mean, I don't know. To be fair, I never heard of the guy before I saw this watch.
No? You have never listened to any song by Maroon Number 5?
Yeah, but it's not my thing. That's
Okay. So I mean, so in a way, you did hear about the guy.
okay. So I did, but I didn't give any consent.
You didn't give any.
You must have. What was this like out on a date, and you let your date control your radio? Is this
Yeah, that's
when you heard Maroon 5?
that's the kind of setting.
Wow.
No, man, I get it.
In
I
truth,
totally get it.
it's so this is too evocative, man. I'm not going to psychoanalyze you, but I guess you are in tune with the fact that your ears are also an orifice.
Yeah.
So you didn't give me consent to Maroon 5 entering your body through certain rooms. All right. Again, not to extol it, but at least we are talking. What I mean to say is, independent of our particular musical taste, these people can write a catchy song, right? He is literally a rock star. Whether it's our understanding of rock or not, that's another discussion altogether. And if you can write any kind of song that has some sort of catchiness, some sort of public appeal, I think you have some kind of artistic vision. But that ties back to what I was saying about Ben Clymer's desperation of trying to find the next John Mayer.
Yeah, I mean, soon they will invite the guy who wrote Baby Shark, and maybe he has a good taste in watches.
Yeah, not every
in his collection
every,
of SpongeBob watches.
not every artist,
Flicks.
not every artist or rock star has good music, good horological taste just because they can afford some interesting watches. Chris is here, by the way. Hey, Chris, how are you doing? Nice to see you.
You know what? I will just quote a very good movie that is Ratatouille, that said that not anyone can be an artist, but an artist can come from everywhere. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, not sure if I get it, but I don't remember Ratatouille. I think I watched it about 2 times too, and had a lot of fun, but I don't really remember what scene that was.
It's nice, but I have a big complaint, and that is for all of the American Hollywood movies in general.
Okay.
When you want to portray French people, at least in animation, right? Why can't you hire French people? Why do you have to hire American people who have to fake a French accent? Maybe you guys, you don't hear it, but for us, it sounds so bad. And Ratatouille is just that, they portray this little restaurant in Paris with the French chefs, and all of them are voiced by American actors, and it's
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe since you are in that mood, Swiss, I'm gonna respond to you in your own way. I mean, I think a lot of French actors are already using their imagination to play non-French characters, since they are tired of themselves. So maybe they cost too much to play French characters. So
probably.
They're using their craft as a way to escape their own insufferability. So they would cost too much. But honestly, I never understood a lot of tropes of American cinema to begin with, like the idea where everyone has to speak English, for example, but with a made-up accent, right? So if you're Russian, it's impossible that you would actually speak Russian and have some sort of subtitles to go with it. You can't have that in American movies. You can't have subtitles because no one wants to read them, right? There's that received wisdom or idea. So you have to have someone with a comically exaggerated accent instead of that. Same thing with German, same thing with French. And I'm not even sure it would be better Swiss, honestly, because with the same director, with the same kind of direction, those people would still force French actors to have the comical version of a French accent in English anyways. So even hiring French actors might not solve the problem you're talking about.
You know what we rarely see also? As you were saying, for example, a Russian, a Russian persona in a film, but that also speaks perfectly English with like a perfect accent. We rarely see that. They always want to, emphasize the fact that it's a foreign, whatever. Shall we go back to watches?
Sure, we can. But I mean, I do want to say one last thing, but that, maybe you're already putting your finger on what they exactly are trying to do. Foreign characters in American movies aren't depicted to for purposes of authenticity. Maybe they are in fact trying to foreground, emphasize their foreignness, their strange.
Also one could make the argument, for example, when I was talking about Ratatouille, it is an animation, it is a Disney, it is for like a younger audience, and they wanted to make a bit more, cartoonish and a bit more, I lost the word, but whatever. So yeah, maybe it wasn't like the priority number one to have like a perfect representation. It was like more, have something fun, and I could understand that.
Yeah,
I wanted to say a more caricatural portrayal of whoever they are trying to represent.
I'm writing back to you in private chat, Robert.
Thank you, sir. Oh, okay, good.
So it disappears from the normal chat, but it doesn't immediately disappear from StreamYard.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I try to handle those kinds of things almost immediately.
Perfect. No problem. I'm just seeing them on StreamYard. That's fine.
Yeah. And I do apologize, even though,
you don't have to apologize for anything.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, what else is there to say about this watch? I don't know.
And he's even got a green X on the rotor. I don't get that.
Know what that means.
I don't either.
I didn't bother to read about it either, Robert. Do you know what it would mean for Adam Levine to have that X?
I don't know enough about Adam Levine.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard his music. Again, it wasn't on a date, but it was, it came across my TV one day. So, but Maroon 5's not my thing either. They need more distorted guitar and screaming. That's more my thing.
Oh yeah. What
needs to be more metal.
Tell me more.
Oh, that's what I've always been into is metal. So
what are some of your favorite bands? I would like to know, because I listen to a lot of metal as well.
So I'm an old 70s hippie metal guy. So Judas Priest, Scorpions,
great.
That kind of stuff. I like prog rock, like Rush. So that kind of stuff. Little Sabbath every now and then, some Motorhead.
Nice.
Nice.
That is, that is getting into the more aggressive territory that I at least used to enjoy a lot in my teens and 20s. I'm a huge fan of German thrash metal to begin with. So like Creator, Destruction, those kinds of bands. Huge fan of Swedish and Norwegian stuff too, even though some of that stuff is ideologically too extreme to me, and I would feel like
Yeah.
it would kill me anyways if I went to one of their concerts.
So I'm now more into symphonic metal,
Mhm.
like Epica. I love Epica. It's fantastic.
A lot of black metal has those kinds of elements, especially bands that are more technically adept, if not
Right.
necessarily gifted. Like Emperor, for example, was one of those bands. I don't even know if they're still active, but in their time, they had pretty good music.
Yeah, Chili Badger's right. Motorhead was incredible, and it was really interesting. I was walking down downtown Austin, down Congress Avenue, and there's this big crowd in front of the Paramount Theater, and this was during South by Southwest about probably 10 years ago, and they were premiering Lemmy's documentary, and the big crowd was because Lemmy was standing in front of the theater. And I just walked by and said, "Hey, man."
That's amazing. We, Jake Brooks and I were thinking of going to a concert or catching a Joe Rogan show while I was in Austin. But I learned too late that Kingfish was playing like the night I arrived.
Oh,
I mean, obviously Robert knows, but for Swiss and for others in the audience who might not know, this guy is, I think he's still pretty young, like a guitar was very, kind of eclectic in its style, but very blues, rock and roll, and soul oriented musician, but extremely great guitarist. Chris Tone, I think is name. Chris Tone, Kingfish Ingram. Great guy.
yeah. Well, one of my friends is now an older guitarist named Van Wilkes, so you can look him up one of these days, and he does Texas rock blues,
Mm.
and he is fantastic. And he is Swiss. He's also big in France. He's about to go on his like 20th French tour in October.
Oh wow, that's nice.
So, and he's good friends with pretty much everybody, but he grew up in Houston with Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, and that's his best friend, and they still see each other all the time. That's how I met Billy, was through Van.
Yeah, ZZ Top. Nice beards.
Yep.
I like that.
I always thought it was funny that the one guy in ZZ Top that did not have the big beard was named Beard. Frank Beard, their drummer, doesn't have the big beard.
Turtle Knight says, when it comes to ratatouille, I think for accuracy purposes, the key part is that rats don't usually make for good cooks. I think that may have been the premise. Turtle Knight. That's what makes it cute and fun. I mean, it is a cartoon at the end of the day.
Nah, but with a little salt and pepper, they can be good eating. You know what I mean?
Hey, man,
No.
I've heard of people eating squirrels, but hopefully.
Well, I went to China like in 2008 or something like that. It was right before the Olympic Games, and the first thing that they had for breakfast, like the little like hot dog trucks outside, or you know, in the street that sells
Mhm.
you like a $1 breakfast. It was actually it was deep fried rat
Mm.
Yum.
on a stick, and you just like munch it from the stick. That was my
Let me-
introduction to Chinese, like pure Chinese cuisine.
Let me
No comment. No comment.
let me tell you, anything fried on a stick is good. Come on.
That's yes, absolutely, Robert.
That's like if you go to the State Fair of Texas, everything is fried on a stick.
Yeah.
So, and it's all great. But I don't think they do rats there.
Yeah, and you know, they have some strange habits when it comes to eat. So you would just bite on the thing, and then you spit the bone out, and you go like in the street.
Fantastic.
That's nasty stuff.
Yeah, of all things, having to spit the bones on the street sounds really disgusting. Chris, I'm glad.
Welcome
you
to China.
I'm glad you
Oh, man.
on that.
Well, I'm going to take my leave of you, gentlemen, because it's almost 1:00 here. And yes, I do work tomorrow.
Well,
All right.
I
I'm
wish
glad
you a
we
good night.
settled that.
It was good to be with you.
And
Robert,
and
good
just
night.
for Swiss, here's my Longines. Just for Swiss.
Let me-
Ooh, very nice. Very nice.
Ooh, Longines. Anyway, you guys have a good night. We'll see y'all later.
Thank
See
you,
you
Robert.
later.
Bye bye.
Nice having you here. Thank you so much. And then there was two Swiss. You wanna pay a visit to our friends in Eichen?
Sure. Why not?
Apparently, they have an auction coming up at the end of the month on Konstantin Chaikin pieces. That should be really interesting. It will be part of the Geneva, like kind of in conjunction with Geneva Watch Days. It will include apparently hand-drawn sketches by Konstantin Chaikin, some of his pieces, including the Joker, Minions, Smilodon, Joker 5, Tourbillon 55, Time Eater, etc. Joker Watch coffee table by a metal artisan.
Really? Okay.
Costa. That's one of the lots, apparently. That will be interesting to see when the details emerge. It's
Oh, it will be during Geneva Watch Days.
yeah, August 29th,
Yep.
starting at 1 p.m. or 1300 Central European time. I look forward to that, but they have the timepieces as always. Let's see if there's anything interesting that you would like to talk about from these. Let me know if you want me to pull up any of
Okay,
these.
let's see.
Any ideas?
I don't know. Is that a 5402? The
I think so.
yeah.
But it looks A series.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's an A series. Oh, okay. Oh, the bracelet is fucked though.
It's Stefano.
Stefano. He wants that. 100. It's going close to 100,000.
That's the fixed price, which
Oh,
can
it's a fixed. What? That so.
and-
If
So,
you
okay,
can,
so-
if you want to buy out like straight the watch, you just pay 91 and it's yours.
Right. So both for their separate lots as well as their curated and themed auctions. The distinctive thing about In Eichen is that they always have a fixed price, which can be used as a buy it now option and end the auction at any minute. There's also no buyer's premium. But so far, with with a little, with around 2 days left on the clock, and with 11 bids, it stands at 57,250. But like you said, the bracelet leaves a lot to be desired, to be honest. The dial seems to be in a nice condition. The clasp is original. The bezel hasn't completely been shaved away by polish, even though I have seen better.
Yeah, I mean, you can see on the bottom part, it's like very rounded.
Yeah, too close to the edge.
Yeah.
You know, the bolts, when they are closer to the edge, you can already know that it's been polished a few
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
The dial looks to be in a nice condition, though. I will give them that.
Yeah, I've seen better. Yeah, I would look for a better one. But I mean, A series is pretty rare. Because I think they only
Yeah,
made
only-
like 1,000 of A series.
It might be 1,500 again. You know,
Yeah,
not
1,500
not
or so.
different,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean this, small scale small for a big brand.
Yeah, I mean, look, over the years, I've seen people preferring the Cant Tapisserie dials and whatever else, but I think nothing really compares to this original.
This
It's
original dial is the best.
It's something else,
Yeah.
really.
And look how thin it is compared to the 5,500, 15,500, and yeah,
Yeah, amazing.
that's a beautiful watch though.
Yeah, in any case, I mean, it's not perfect in terms of this particular example, but 5402 and the A series in general is of course one of absolute grails, and I've always liked, again, that close-up texture of the tapisserie. It almost looks like a fingerprint pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. There are a few interesting effet jaune pieces. There's a Lange 1 on a bracelet that could be interesting to look
Yeah,
at.
that's rather rare. It has a mother of pearl dial, it looks like.
Yeah. White gold,
Yeah.
matching bracelets.
I
This
mean
is-
the bracelet is nice, but if you ever have to size it, it's gonna be painful.
that, and also, it's really an acquired taste, because I mean, this particular style of bracelet gets rid of the lugs, so it's not like a retrofit kind of solution.
You know what? I really like those style of watches, like the how do you call them? Like the cocktail watches.
Mm-hmm.
I really like those, and I always think that is kind of sad that they really disappeared. It was like a 80s and 90s thing.
Yeah.
You can find them for cheap as hell on the internet. Smaller size but very exotic looking.
This style of watch,
So-
again, reminds me Swiss, like a lot of beautiful Patek, AP, Vacheron watches, with integrated bracelets of this particular style, that are, relatively speaking, to what they are horologically, still reasonable on the vintage market. But certainly this is very niche for a Lange 1. Like, it won't please every single Lange 1 fan, because without the lugs and on this peculiar bracelet, the watch is something of its own style, more similar to those watches that we were just talking about than a Lange 1, honestly. It also has a mother of pearl dial, which you identified immediately. But could be an interesting throwback style for sure.
Yeah.
And this piece had a similar fixed price to the A series Audemars Piguet Royal Oak that we were looking at. Current bid with about 2 days to go stands at 66,400. Sapphire caseback, of course, from around year 2002. White gold, 38.5 millimeters in diameter with a mother of pearl dial. JL, nice to see you, man. $20 Australian. Thank you so much for your nice words as well. Good day, Swiss.
Thank you, JL. Thank you. Good day to you too.
And Chris is imagining an episode of Talking Watches with Horatio Paul Pluter. Today, we're speaking with an author collecting Louis Vuitton, a political activist, Queensland rail fail, and a member of the world's oldest profession, Blue Velvet. We're talking watches with Paul Pluter. Amazing. Please hit the like button, guys, if for nothing else, for this beautiful script by Chris.
Can I send you a link?
Of course.
It's from Christie's auction.
Similar style Petit Philippe. Yeah. Wow. And a tapisserie dial too. Take a look. This is something that's sold what was now, I think, like a BC type of date, June 2019.
Yeah.
Still for $8,000.
$8,000 for a full. I mean, it's white gold with a full white gold bracelet. Patek Philippe. Manual wine movement.
You know, the way the dial looks and is detailed, this might be one of those blue dials they produce out of gold blanks as well. So it might.
It looks so good. This, I mean, right? It's definitely an acquired taste, right? Yeah, I understand that. But it's not that they produce less of them. They completely abandoned this style of watches.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a few of them, but they are like very ladies targeted. You know, it's like very gendered now. Look at that. That's amazing.
There are a few things that I really like about it. One, I've always liked these sorts of bracelets. You know, the way you have to put it through the hole.
Yeah.
You know, they have also a very interesting.
And look, it has micro extensions. Look.
Yeah, it has a back winder, so it has that design that's not interrupted by a crown as well, and it really takes the idea of an integral design to the next level, because if you see the pattern that decorates the dial is also on the bezel, also on the bracelet. I mean, that's amazing.
And that's right. This particular style of watch, I'm just saying for the audience, it's called a cocktail watch because it's literally the watch you would bring at like the Sunday brunch just to flex. It's like just to show off at the Sunday afternoon cocktail. And I don't know, this idea, it just cheers me up. I just really enjoy this idea. And yeah, I love those. And
Yeah, I'm a fan of this style, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they are
$8,000 in 2019. $8,000.
in vintage watches they are coming back, but like you said, like in contemporary production, it's almost non-existent now, this particular style. But there is, I think, a burgeoning interest in Patek pieces like this, in Vacheron pieces like this, in Audemars Piguet pieces like this, and catch them while you can, because I think, for 10,000, for example, there's still a lot of value to be found in these styles of watches. And if you need some reference numbers and some further advice, feel free to always send me an email. I'll be more than happy to advise you a little bit. Yeah, that's beautiful, and that identifies, again, very specifically the kind of aesthetic lineage to this particular version.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who enjoys those.
Yeah, but I mean, you are not going to find many other weirdos other than me. So don't get too excited all of a sudden. I think it's still a niche. Again, I think there is more
definitely
than 5 years ago, let's say, but it's still quite a niche. I've always been also a fan of the Tank Basculante. I don't know what particular model this is. Oh, it's a quartz movement one. Too bad. Because I was kind of excited with the interesting dial layout, like off-center seconds at 3, with also with a railroad track that resembles exactly the center of the dial too.
Yep.
And the pointer date at 6, just a different aesthetic. I was quite excited, but the fact that it's a quartz movement kind of takes away from that excitement. It's still a very elegant looking watch. Unfortunately, they didn't take a picture with the way the case swerves. That's a piece that is currently being bid at around 5,300. I love this Santos Dumont, by the way.
Yeah.
Look how sleek that is.
Very slim.
Again, perhaps a little small for the contemporary taste at 36 by 26, but a very elegant piece with a classic Cartier dial, pink gold case, deep blue hands, and a nice little blue cabochon on the crown. This is a hand-wound mechanical movement, and this Cartier Santos Dumont is currently being bid at 6,900 with about 2 days to go. Again, I don't necessarily endorse any of these auction houses. They're not perfect. I would urge you to exercise particular caution and really scrutinize the specific lots that you choose to consider seriously or even bid. Always take the opportunity to see the watches in person. If you have the opportunity. If not, there's always the next auction. You know, if everything doesn't sit right, there's no reason to even bid. What I like about in Eichen, again, all these auction houses, their own strengths, is the fact that they are really playing the role of a disruptor. They have a lot of imaginative categories when they curate specific selections of watches, and they have also no buyer's premium. So what you see as the hammer price is what you will have to pay. No ifs and buts, no hidden charges beyond, of course, the customs, taxes, and other kinds of dues if you will have to import the watch, especially. But those are the caveats that I wanted to share. They have an FP Journe Octa Réserve de Marche with, in the black label edition, which is the kinds of special reserve watches, so to speak, from FP Journe that are only offered to collectors who have bought more than one watch from their boutiques. At least the urban myth is that due to their limited production, these watches actually go through François-Paul Journe's desk and are subject to his personal inspection, but I can't testify to that. It's nevertheless a good story. But at any rate, black dial Journes are rare because, again, I think they're limited to 2 pieces for each model line per year per boutique. So it's always, they always command that strong presence and the premium attached to it when they come on the secondary markets. And this FP Journe Octa Réserve de Marche is currently being bid at 109,850 with about 2 days to go. Guys, again, between these timed listings and the selection of chronographs, if you want us to talk about any particular auction, any particular lots, feel free to send in the lot number with a super chat, and I would be more than happy to discuss the watch in more detail. There's another very cool Journe piece. separately offered here.
The calendar jour.
Yeah, and it's 38 millimeters, but with the pink gold movement. Octa Calendrier is FP Jaune's take on the annual calendar complication, meaning that it is the kind of calendar where you would need to correct the setting only once per year, as long as things keep in motion. And that would be on March 1st, since an annual calendar cannot account for the short month of February. This particular piece, furthermore, has a retrograde date hand, which shows the date on a crescent-like scale that faces the side of the crown. And of course, it snaps back at the beginning of each month. I don't know. I always liked the design of this, as well as the Octa chronograph, by the way. I don't know if you remember or if you're
Yeah,
familiar.
I really enjoyed the octaconograph.
And as much as I appreciate the technical kind of advancement, let's say, of the Centigraph, I really like that classical design, the dial layouts,
Mm-hmm.
and also I believe it was also a flyback, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, yeah.
It is.
So this, yeah, this was the Octa chronograph, much more
Yeah,
classic.
that is really nice.
With the flyback, a chronograph with the flyback functionality, of course, a self-winding piece, as the Octa model designation would identify it. It has, this is rather rare, but a 60-minute totalizer as an external subsidiary dial at 9 o'clock. And kind of the vibe of an older pocket watch even, right? You know, with the off-center dial, but a centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand. It's really a interesting and quirky design without really making it like they're trying too hard either. So I don't know. I wish more of these existed. I mean, Jaune watches are expensive as it is. These kind of rare discontinued models are even more impossible. Coming back to the Octa Calendrier, which is FP Jaune's take on the annual calendar. Here you are looking at a 38 millimeter pink gold encased version of that complication. And with about 2 days to go, the bidding stands at $103,000 US for this piece.
That's a lot of money.
Oh my God.
A lot of money.
Too much.
Yeah, way too much. Okay, so I'm gonna leave. It was really fun to be with you tonight. Or for me, it's morning now. It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, I hope you can get some sleep or find a
I
way.
had before. I actually woke up very early.
Okay, I'm glad to
For
hear
no
that.
reason. I couldn't sleep. So there we go.
Thank you, man. Thanks for
Yeah.
dropping by. It's
And
always fun.
until next time, I guess.
Yes, please.
See you. Have a good night.
Take care, Swiss. All right. I think I will go for another 10 minutes or so and make a 3-hour run out of this. It's been a long day for me today, so I might not do my 4-hour marathon, but hey, there are still people watching. And if you have any special requests, anything else that you would like me to discuss, please feel free to send in your questions and requests. I'll still be here. You're looking at 5230R, the Patek Philippe World Timer, in 38.5 millimeter pink gold case. The very nice anthracite gray guilloche pattern at the center of the dial, which is surrounded by the 24-hour ring that separates day and night, with the silver with blue numerals for the day, and that actually has the sun at noon, and white numerals over dark blue over navy for night, which has a crescent at midnight. And of course, there is at the outer ring surrounding both the center dial and the 24-hour ring, the city's ring, which in the old style still has Hong Kong, of course. The newer Patek Philippe World Time watches have Beijing instead of Hong Kong. Of course, the iconic and supremely useful pusher at 10 o'clock allows you to cycle through time zones with ease. It manipulates in perfect synchrony both the hour hand and the city's ring. So once you set the time correctly, you can cycle through and travel through, make your way through different time zones at the push of a button. And of course, as always, one of the delightful aspects of a Patek World Time watch is its micro rotor movement. Based on the Trident True Caliber 240, which was made for Patek Philippe by Gérard Beret, whom they had recruited from Universal Genève. So it's not really a surprise that he was behind this rather iconic and useful design. Micro rotor movements, at least up until a certain time, were understood to be somewhat finicky in terms of their winding function. That their winding of the movement was not as efficient as a movement, as an automatic movement with a full rotor. But even at the first step, by sinking the rotor at the same level of the bridge plates, you are at once allowing the watch to have a slimmer profile, reminiscent of a hand-wound piece, although perhaps not always as thin. And you're also getting, of course, a nicer and uninterrupted view of the whole picture of the caliber, whole picture of the movements, which can always be, of course, rather desirable, especially when you have a nicely finished movement. In this case, you have a watch that does come with the original papers and product literature, including the certificate of origin. The pink gold case is matched with a Patek Deployant clasp, which carries the Calatrava cross, which of course is also embossed on the micro rotor, decorated by Côte de Genève, the Geneva stripes. This Patek Philippe World Time (5230R) with the micro rotor caliber, 240 HU for Heure Universelle, with an anthracite gray Guilloche center dial, is currently being bid at $45,800 US, with a buy it now option set at $62,950. There are 2 days to go on the clock. I think I will maybe talk about one more watch, then say goodbye. If you have not yet clicked the like button, please do. It helps a great deal for a small channel like this, helping me boost the profile a little more, getting a few more eyes on the channel, on the live streams. We're finally looking at a Rolex Datejust, all stainless steel, here presented on a leather strap as well. A generic stainless steel buckle 2. You're looking at 1603, 4 digits, has a stepped dial, a pie-pan dial as it is sometimes called, that is very characteristic of the time period. A kind of ghost dial look, I have to say, with the particular shade, with the particular way that that silver dial has aged. The engine turned matching stainless steel bezel seems to be in a nice condition as well. The case itself is not enviable, but at least it's not polished all the way down to the size and form of a toothpick. We can give it that. This stainless steel Datejust, which is practically just the head, since it's offered on a generic leather strap, on a generic buckle, has a fixed price of $6,900 US, which seems a little excessive to me, but the bidding currently stands at $3,900 US with about 2 days left. So it could be an interesting proposition, but not really a steal either, considering the complete absence of a matching bracelet and the unenviable condition of the case. Oh, Meech, last minute. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, what's going on, Lord?
I was about to close, but I'm glad you came. How you been? Is there something you wanted to talk about?
Oh, no, not really. I mean, if you want to close, you can. I mean, I wasn't going to stay on here for more than a minute anyways, so.
You have somewhere else to be, somewhere better to be.
Yeah, I've got to go to the Fortress of Dreams eventually here, so, you know.
I thought you were gonna say, like, you know, I'm gonna go watch paint dry or something like that, but that works. I think that's very interesting. Let me help close in that way. I appreciate Turtle Knight for the super sticker. We had 2 generous super chats / super stickers, both in Australian dollars, also from JL. I appreciate you both. And everyone else who has chimed in from the chats, people who have participated in the panel, including Meech, but of course, Ali Reza, Robert Wood, and Swiss. Thank you all, JB and everyone else in the chats. Love you all, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Until then, wear your watches and enjoy them. And take care. I'll see you in the next one.